It's almost time for kids to go back to school. Remember those days when you go back to school? Let's reminisce about going back to school back in the 80s. Welcome back to the Junk Room, everybody. It's me, the Junk Man, and we're just going to reminisce about the 80s. That's what we do a lot on this channel, so there's nothing really new here. But we're going to talk about going back to school. Kids are getting ready to go back to school. If not, they're already started, which is crazy because it's just the 1st of August. And I remember getting out of school at the last week of May and going back the first week of September. You had 3 months. It was great. It was kind of like you were in prison, and then you got out for good behavior for 3 months, and I guess you were bad, then you had to go back. But you remember going back to school? You remember it would usually start around August. You start seeing back to school stuff at the store, and it kind of make your stomach kind of hurt you. Like, I don't want to think about it. And then you would get in the mail, at least we did, you would get in the mail what class you're going to go to. And in elementary school, it was like, there's like 2 or 3 different 4th grades. So you would get a list to see who, oh man, look, I got Miss Albert. I got Miss Hershey. I got Miss Albertwood. And then in high school, you see what homeroom you got. You would always, friends in the neighborhood, friends you call them up on the phone. I got Miss Peabody. Who you got? Oh, Miss Pinecone. Yeah, we had a teacher named Miss Pinecone. She stopped typing. I think her name was Miss Pacone, but we all called her Miss Pinecone because that's how kids are. And when I say kids, we were in high school. But yeah, that's when you first started feeling. Then that dread would come. You're like, oh my God, summer's almost over. I can't sleep till 2 in the afternoon anymore. And you're like, oh, it's almost time to go back to school. And you were a little excited. It was, summer was kind of, you get to see some friends you hadn't seen in a while, ones that didn't live in the neighborhood. We didn't have text and Snapchat and all that fancy stuff. And so you're a little excited, but then, it was school, so you couldn't get too excited. And so there's some stuff you had to bring with you. And of course we have Trapper Keeper. Remember Trapper Keeper? Now I can't remember what Trapper Keeper I had, but I'm sure I had more than one of them. I tried to Google some Trapper Keepers and saw little girly looking ones. I don't remember anything. I think I might have had the Corvette one maybe. Or maybe I just had the standard one. I don't remember which one I saw it. I can't remember the Trapper Keepers I had, but I remember I love my Trapper Keeper, and I'm sure I did have some. I just don't remember what they exactly looked like, but it was a must-have, especially in the 80s. You had to have your Trapper Keeper to be cool. And not going in any kind of order here. You remember smelly markers? Now I think the teacher had these. I don't know if students brought them to school, but they were all the same brand. They all looked the same every school I ever seen. I'll put a picture up. But these were markers, and they always had like scents to them. Scents. They always smelled. You had like a red one that smelled like a cherry. You had a yellow one that smelled like a lemon. And it's always the black one. It smelled like licorice. Oh my God, the black one was so gross, wasn't it? Oh, and it would not fail. You would, you'd smell them in class, and you'd get that one kid, hey, smell the liquor, smell this one. And then when he smelled it, you pop him in the head so he has a big old black mark on his face for the rest of the day. Oh, good times, good times. Let's see else. There was also pencil boxes. You had to pick out a new pencil box this year. And I'm not talking about the clappy. Sorry, but let me start all over on that. I kind of messed up there. Pencil boxes. I'm talking about not the little plastic little like wallet-like looking. I'm talking about the actual box, wood, plastic, whatever. You open it up, had a whole bit of different kind. It was basically just a box. Had some kind of design on the front. I had a space one time. There was one back to school. It had like a schoolhouse on it. A lot of different ones. I think I saw a peppermint patty one time. A Poochie. I remember a girl had a Poochie one. And I remember you would just throw everything in there. Girl give you a note in class, you put it in there. This thing, you could put everything. It was like your own little private little safety box here, but it didn't have a lock on it. I remember one girl, though, had a fancy one. It had drawers all in it, and a calculator to slide out over the side. It was crazy. But you put a lot of stuff in there. Put your pens and your paper, and your multicolor pen. Remember? That was the only time I was able to get a multicolor pen. I would get it at the first of the year, lose it within the first 3 or 4 weeks. Remember, you had a little click. You had to click, oh, I want blue today, red today. Oh, man. Or you try to, I would do like one word in blue, one red. It was just so much fun clicking those things. I love that. I love that till they ran out of ink. But I never ran out of ink because I lost mine before I could run out of ink. Man, remember erasers? Speaking of, remember The eraser pen, when it first came out, everyone wanted it. We saw a commercial for it. We were like, Eraser Mate, it erases ink. Couldn't believe they made such a thing. And it would also erase carbon copies. Now, in about middle school and high school, we still reading carbon copies. You remember those? No, it has nothing to do with carbon. I used to think that. But it was like 3 sheets and it had this carbon paper in between. So when you wrote on something, it was like make a copy of it. And that's how you get your report card. And they would tear the first one off, or you take the other one home to your parents, and they would have like the second copy. And you could change. You could put that carbon over something else and change how many days you missed. So if you missed 8 days, you could 8. Well, I was gonna say you could. You always wanted it less. Let's say you missed. I don't know. Let's say you missed something. You could change it. Let's say you change it. You could change it. Trust me. You can make a number like less, or change your grade. Change your grades wasn't as easy because your parents know. Like, there's no way he made an A in science class. He's a dumb kid. But days, they didn't know about some days you missed. Some days you went to school. Some days you just hung out in the woods with your friend Toby. And then some days you played sick. But your mom knew about that. But they didn't know about the times you hung out with Toby or Nick in the woods, swinging on vines. They don't know about that. They probably still don't know about that today. But anyway, Eraser Mate came out where you could erase with ink. I couldn't believe it. It was the coolest thing I ever seen. And you always had all these different kind of erasers. I hated the triangle eraser that went on top of the pencil. I hated that. Hey, I just used the other eraser. But I hated when your eraser went away. Remember when your eraser went down so low, you had to bite it to get it just a little bit to pop out, and you can erase it, and you end up ripping the paper because there's so not much of an eraser left. There was all kinds of erasers. I think I had a He-Man eraser. I had some Star Wars erasers. I didn't want to erase with them because they were like toys. I didn't want to erase them. They had all kinds of erasers. And we talked about the pencil box, but I didn't bring up the pencil bag. The bag. Remember, this was. I don't remember putting pencils in these things. I don't know. I don't think I ever had one of these. But I always had a little pocket for your change on the front of it too. Carry your pens, your whatever you want to carry with change. I don't know. I guess in case you want to buy a square pizza at lunch, I guess. But there was all different kinds. There were girly ones and boy ones and all different kinds. You probably could put some glue in it. Remember glue? You get that. Everybody has Elmer's glue. They must have made a deal with the school board or something. You pour it on your hand and let it dry, and you can peel it off, and look, you're peeling skin off, or best yet, you put it on your hand, really smooth it in really good, and then you get that remember that little dangerous toy tool that we had, so you could draw circles with? What was it called? A protractor or something? I can't remember, a tractor or track. I don't know. It was like this, and one had a pencil on it, and the one had the sharpest needle in the world. I don't know how we were allowed to carry that to school, but you put enough glue there, you could put it in your skin, like it was going through your skin. You could freak out. People would be like, "Hey, Amy, look at this! Oh, stop! That's gross." Put some ketchup on it. Oh, good times. But glue. Remember that glue that was? I've only seen it at school. It was kind of a weird. It almost looked like it should have syrup in it or something. It was like really weird. It had a rubber top on it that had an angle cut into it. It was like a nipple. Remember that? I only saw that glue at school. Never saw that glue anywhere else. And then there was that paste glue. You scrape top off and it was like a stick and it was all stringy. And one kid would be eating it and it's just paste. I don't know. I never used the paste stuff. I just had Elmer's glue. But I saw teachers use the paste stuff. I never really saw a need for the paste stuff. Never. And then if you messed up on your piece of paper, you had liquid paper. Remember liquid paper? Now this high school, man, we were obsessed. I don't know why. We were obsessed with liquid paper. Well, I'm going to say not high school, sixth grade. That's right before middle school. Our middle school started at 7th and 8th, and the high school 9th and 10th. Sixth grade, at least I had a little group of friends, we were obsessed with liquid paper. Smelled good too. But we would take it and put tattoos on us. We always called it whiteout. I remember a teacher got mad one day. He said, "It's not called whiteout, it's called liquid paper." And then I found something at the store that was from a different company. It actually said whiteout on it, so I had to bring it to school just so I could say, "Hey, look here. I always had to be the smart ass, right? But I don't know why we were so obsessed with liquid paper for that one year. We used it in class, but we used it more, like I said, to put tattoos on us. And I think we got a little high sniffing it, to be honest with you. I don't think we really knew that then, but I remember we sniffed it. We sniffed it a lot. But back to pencils. Remember when you have a pencil and you like used it so much it got down to be about this small? Remember that? It got to be about this small. And you were like, I don't got no pencil like that. And you're trying to write with it, and it's like the smallest pencil in the world. Everybody had that. I remember a number 2 yellow. It looked like a normal yellow 2 pencil, but we all called it a rubber jack. Is that a thing? Was that some kind of southern thing? It was rubber jack. It looked just like a regular pencil, number 2 pencil, but it's kind of rubbery. Not like you could bend it. I used to have this long, like 12, 20-inch pencil that was huge. You could tie a knot into it and really write. What happened to that pencil? It was huge. Anyway, this was just a regular pencil. And it was kind of like a rubber because it was really cool when you wanted to have a thump more. Remember, one guy would hold the pencil and you would have yours and you could thump it. First one that breaks the pencil wins. And they would always say, he's got a rubber jack. Rubber jack, that doesn't count. Can't use a rubber jack. No rubber jacks. That was our rule. No rubber jacks. Because rubber, you get a little bit more bend into it. You know, you hold it, he pop it. Somebody would always end up popping your knuckles or your finger. You were like, I quit. That was a lot of fun. Usually I would end up just breaking it, trying to pull it back. That's why you want a rubber jack. It wouldn't snap. Oh, rubber jacks. I wonder if rubber jacks. How about that? Let's see what else we had going back to school. Backpacks. Now, backpacks I really got more into high school era. I don't remember, or maybe middle school. I don't remember really having a backpack in elementary school. Now, really early on, like kindergarten, more in the 70s, I remember having a briefcase. Now, I know it sounds funny, but I think a lot of kids had briefcases. Had a little flap on it, and little hinges and everything. Ugh, dang. It's pretty dorky. And I can remember, remember the backpack that wasn't like a rectangle backpack? It was like a big fat square. Oh, you deserved a pee in the face. Remember that? And then in the late 80s, maybe into the early 90s, there was that hacky sack like one. There was like a knapsack. It was just, it was just flimsy. It had no weight to it or nothing. You could throw your books in there and everything. But let's see what else. We had crayons. If you were the cool kid or the rich kid, you had the big crayon. What was it, 64 crayons or something? 76? I don't know. Had a pencil sharpener on the back so you could sharpen your crayons. Oh, man. I remember one girl, Danielle, she had scented crayons. I was kind of jealous. That was kind of cool. I mean, she had like 20 of them, all different scents. So that was kind of cool. But, yeah, that's about the only crayon I remember is the crayon with the eraser on it. But pencil erasers was something big to have. You had to have your pencil erasers come back to school. There was a lot of nifty different ones, but I only had the little square plastic one, the normal one. That's the one I always had. Then, of course, you had the pencil sharpener in the class. Remember that thing? They still make that today, but they're electric today or something. Probably got an app to sharpen your pencil today. Hell, do they even use pencils today? But, I love the pencil sharpener. You can get it really down and get a fine point on it for sure. But pencil sharpeners, eraser, notebooks. You had to come to school with a notebook. I hated that. What do they call that? Comprehension notebook. Everybody had it. It was black. Had a lot of white lines all over it. I hated that notebook. I don't know why I hated it. I just hated whenever. I think I just hated the name of it. I just hated something I hated as a kid about that book. And I got notebooks, just plain notebooks. I can remember flipping on the back. It was like all plain cardboard. And I would draw like asteroids all over it, and then I would try to get my ship from one side to the other side. I would just draw a line and try not to hit an asteroid. It was a lot of fun. I wish I could find some of my old notebooks because, man, I'm sure I wrote all over the covers. Probably put all kinds of stuff right there. Probably wrote Bocephus all over it. Y'all probably didn't write Bocephus. You probably wrote Iron Maiden or Bon Jovi or something. But I was a weird kid. And this ain't really something you brought to school, but you got to school, you got your textbooks. Remember the textbooks? Oh, I can still see some of them in my head. I hope I never see them again. A textbook. Well, the best thing about getting the textbook was, you go into math class, you take out the new book, you open it to the first page, or not really the back of the flap, and it would have a list of who had that book last year, who had that book the year before that. It would go back like 5 years, like going back in time. You could look at it, and you'd be like, oh man, my friend Nick had this book last year. Funny. Or you can be like, my sister had this book 4 years ago. My sister right here, named right here in the book. You could also do that with the library, the school library. When you check out a book, it would usually have a little thing in the back that showed you when to bring it back. They would stamp it on there, stamp the date to bring it back on. But they would also have everybody that's checked that book out. I can remember one time in school, probably 8th grade, maybe 9th grade, there was this girl, I think her name was Amanda. We were just in the library goofing off, looking at books. You know, we would like to find like books by the titles and make fun of them. We found this one book called Coping with Being Gifted, you know, for smart kids, you know, for a smart kid to read. And that's when we saw in the back flap that this Amanda girl, checked that book out twice in the same school year. Oh, did we give her hell? I mean, we were like, who she thinks she is? She's gifted. Oh, Amanda thinks she's gifted. She thinks she's too smart. Oh, man, we gave her hell. That's probably cruel now thinking back on it, thinking about it. But, man, whatever. I was going to say whatever happened to Amanda, but I remember in high school, her dad was one of the coaches at school, and she was like the star track athlete, and then she got hurt her knee or something, couldn't track anymore. From what I understand, her father kind of disowned her after that. Kind of felt bad for her after that. So I'm sorry, Amanda, I know you don't see this, but if you did see it, I'm sorry I picked on you for being gifted. Let's see, and here's something, we'll wrap this up. Nobody ever knows what I'm talking about. I don't know if it was just my local school thing, but each year we had to have a desk bag. I've Googled desk bag, can't find it. You remember the school desk? Remember those school desks? You had a little cubby under your seat part where you could put your books and stuff. You had the table. I had one that would I could actually lift it up and you do like this. You could lift it like this and then lift it up again and you just have a regular chair. And I loved it because I do like a transformer. It was like Transformers. That was just one year. Normally I just had the regular one here. I didn't have the one that connected to another. Remember that? And you watch Leave It to Beaver. It'd be like a desk would be on the back of the chair. It was really weird if you watched Leave It to Beaver in the old school days. But on the side of the desk where it was open, not where you sit down, but you couldn't you only go on one side of the table, desk. You couldn't get in on the other side. On the other side, we would put up this thing. I remember mine was always olive draft. I remember that because I would always say it was green. My brother, that's not green, that's olive draft. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's green. But it was like a bag, and you tie it up there, and it had little pockets and everything to put all your knickknacks and your paddywhacks in. I've looked, and I'm sure it was probably more than just green. Probably more than just all the draft. There was probably other kinds also, maybe themes, but I guess it wasn't something popular that they sold with like movie themes on it, because I can't find anything unless I just thought it was called desk bag and it's called something else, so let me know. But yeah, I guess that's my little reminiscent about going back to school. Like I said, it was bumming out because summer was over, but you're kind of excited, get some new stuff to go back to school, got new shoes. I didn't talk about lunch boxes because I've talked about them so many times before. New clothes, of course. I never really got into the whole new clothes thing. And my mom would probably buy some bugle boys for me, but it wasn't nothing I was like excited about, unless it was like my Dukes of Hazzard t-shirt or something. But yeah, I guess I want to hear from you guys about going back to school, some things you remember like buying back to school, or erasers you had, or whatever. Just let me know in the comments below. We're here to just reminisce about the 80s and other time periods too, but maybe this will be a new series where I just reminisce about a topic from the 80s. Might be a lot of fun. Well, let me know what you brought to school back in the 80s, or how you feel about going back to school. Let me know that and more in the comments below. And as always, how much you like my content, subscribe to the channel. We'll talk again.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.